Can you sell a community property alone without the consent of your spouse? This is also a good question we often can encounter in different places in China. As you may know, under Chinese law, we have a default community property rule, a matrimonial property regime, meaning after marriage, everything acquired by one spouse will be assumed to be co-owned by both, and upon divorce, the community property will be generally equally divided. That's the idea of community property, matrimonial property rule, matrimonial property regime under Chinese law. So it's not surprising that when one person sells a property in his or her name, the real estate authority might ask whether this property is community property or not. If it is a community property, very likely the real estate authority will ask you whether your spouse has agreed on the sale of this community property. But the practices are different throughout different cities in China. Like in Shanghai, when a foreigner sells a property in his or her own name, the local authority will never ask you whether this property is a community property, whether your spouse has given consent to the sale. No, they don't ask. This is actually the case in most cities in China. I used to also sell property in Beijing, and I remember a few years ago, the Beijing local authority will ask for the prior written consent of the foreign seller. But no longer in Beijing, they don't have such a requirement now. There's a city we need to mention, and that is Shenzhen. When you sell a property in Shenzhen, even though the property is registered in your own name, and the local authority will still need you to come up to prepare family status document to declare whether you are single or whether you are married. So they require this document mainly for the purpose of calculate the person's income tax to see whether you are eligible for the exemption of personal income tax. Remember we mentioned just previously. So when you sell the property that is held as the only property by your family for more than 5 years, in this case, the personal income tax is exempted. So the local authority in Shenzhen, they will need you to produce some document regarding your family status in order to assess whether you need to pay the personal income tax or not. If you don't have that document, you will have to pay the personal income tax. So as you know, when we deal with the Shenzhen property, so we always know there is an extra document we need to ask the client to prepare. But anyway, even though China is a uniform law country, but in practice, different location, different city, they must still have some local requirement in applying the same laws. That's why you need a lawyer when you sell property in China.